Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to the Fish Pod.
Welcome to the Fish Pod.
Today
we have
an assignment
intermission.
Because we are presenting
to you a film analysis
on the movie Sorry to Bother You
by Boots Riley. See, that took a lot of catching up there, but I'm glad we worked it out.
Timing.
Okay, so, today we are discussing the film Sorry to Bother You by Boots Riley, which I think is debatably the most Marxist film ever created in the history of the universe.
We're also going to be looking at it through a psychoanalytic lens to analyze it further. We're going to start off by giving a movie synopsis, then we're going to talk about the main characters and more. Oh, and we're also going to get into some horse people / humans.
Equisapiens, if you will.
So stay tuned. Okay, let's get into it.
So, Sorry to Bother You is a film by Boots Riley based in a surrealist alternate reality that is scarily similar to our own present-day Oakland, California. The main character, newly hired telemarketer Cassius Green, finds himself in an internal struggle as a middle-lower-class man living in his uncle's garage with his struggling artist of a girlfriend just barely scraping by. Green, desperate to feel like he's accomplishing something meaningful with his life, discovers the secret to success when he adopts a white people voice. And as Green's character begins to take off, his friends and coworkers begin to organize a protest against corporate oppression in order to unionize and get better wages. Cassius soon falls under the spell of Steve Lift, a cocaine-snorting CEO who offers him a salary beyond his wildest dreams if he agrees to be turned into a half-horse, half-human Equisapien, and lead a legion of these Equisapiens to work for Steve Lift's company Worry-Free as more efficient slave labor. Cassius is forced to choose between what he views as success and his literal humanity. When he refused and went to the press, Steve Lift's stocks actually jumped, and the public was shockingly despondent. In the end, the telemarketing agency successfully unionized, and the Equisapiens began an uprising against Steve Lift. Thank you.
The focus characters in Sorry to Bother You start with Cassius Green, Detroit, Cash's girlfriend, Sal, Cash's best friend, Steve Lift, the CEO of Worry-Free, and Squeeze, the union starter.
So what's interesting about this movie and why we chose it is that it plays in perfectly with our two main film theories that we're studying, which is Marxism and psychoanalytic theory. Basically, this movie does exactly what sociology wants to do. It takes what we think is completely normal and completely usual in our life, and it makes us look at it from the outside and be like, this is bizarre.
Yeah.
Like, it really, without even realizing it, it forces you to question everything that, like, is just inherent in our society with capitalism because it just shows you how ridiculous some of it looks.
Yeah, so for me, I hadn't seen this movie before, and when someone tells me to watch a movie, I'm like, I don't want to watch it because you're telling me to watch it. I like to watch things on my own time, but this was really interesting because it caught me off guard completely, especially the ending, which we'll get into. It really personifies kind of how people want you to be an animal if you're doing labor and working.
And, like, sell out your entire humanity.
Yeah.
A lot of things that I've seen from just, like, looking this up is, like, it has been dubbed one of the most debatably Marxist movies of all time. Like, it's pretty much interchangeable with reading 2,500 pages of theory, which you're not going to do. This film attempts to simplify and to reinstate Marx's arguments of Das Kapital, in particular the central metaphor about the behind-the-scenes means of production.
Yeah.
Which Marx phrases like this, and I'm going to read it because I'm not going to remember a Marx quote. Accompanied by Mr. Moneybags, the capitalist, and by the possessor of labor power, the worker, we therefore take leave for a time of this noisy sphere of circulation of buying or selling, where everything takes place on the surface and in view of all people, and follow them both into their hidden abode of production, and whose threshold there stares us in the face. No admittance except on business. Here we shall see not only how capital produces, but how capital is produced. We shall at last force the secret of profit making. So this is basically saying that we need to know what's going on behind the means of production. And this is what this movie is showing us.
Yeah.
Is what does go on behind the curtain. But it also gives the perspective of the main people, like or just like the public in general.
Yeah.
Like the most popular TV show in that universe is, pardon my language, I got the shit smacked out of me.
Yeah, one where people are watching someone get beat up for money.
But they don't care. They don't care about what's actually going on. Also, the TV show itself is, again, another characterization of capitalism because people are going on live television, like a stupid game show, to get the literal crap beat out of them.
Yeah.
For money. Because they're desperate. Because that's what this does. So, the movie opens up on a job interview where our protagonist, Cassius Green, has 2 fake jobs lined up, like on his resume, an entire trophy that he's made, and
a fake one,
and a plaque that he's also made to try to get this job. I personally think that says a lot. Like the whole movie kind of makes a satire off of like our society,
and also kind of poverty without blatantly looking like you're in poverty.
Yeah, exactly. Because he looks like a middle upper class man just in Oakland, but like the lengths in which people do go to try to get jobs because it's so hard to find jobs that treat you properly. But he doesn't even care anymore. No. He's applying for a telemarketing company where all he makes is commission.
Yeah.
So
it's sad.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that whole part is a really good way to open the movie because it's kind of making a satire off of what we just consider to be normal. Like it's normal to lie on your resume because you need a job. So why would you not?
Yeah. A meaningful quote that he said was that he wasn't living, he was just surviving, and that plays into both Marxism and psychoanalytic film theory.
I think another interesting motif throughout the movie is the theme of people selling out their like humanity for capitalism, or like in the pursuit of money. Like at first, it's whenever Cassius Green is starting his telemarketing job. He calls an old woman, and she picks up the phone crying because her husband's dying in the hospital from cancer, so she can't afford what they're selling. And he wants to reach out and just be like, hey, I'm so sorry, that's awful. But he can't because he has to stick to the script, which is the whole model of their company because they just need to sell. They don't care about people. They just want to sell.
So this telemarketing job has screwed with Cash's brain since the beginning. So when you walk in, he works for Regal View, the company, all right? So walking into the building, there's a set of golden elevators. And those go up to the power callers. Cash is not a power caller, though. He is a normal telemarketer, right? So he's going to take a turn and not go up these elevators, take a turn down the stairs, and that's where he works, okay? These people are getting underpaid. They barely have enough to get by, okay? And above them, there's people doing debatably little to nothing.
Yeah. So that's kind of the whole thing with the power callers. Is they're meant to be the like arbitrary promotion that you can get, which would push you to keep working in a crappy job. Like, you keep doing this, maybe one day you'll become a power caller. It's kind of like, to quote Squeeze, who is the...
He initiates the union.
Yeah, he initiates the unionization within the telemarketing agency.
He works downstairs with Cash in the telemarketing.
Yeah, to quote him, be a fry cook, maybe one day you'll be manager. It's probably not going to happen. But they're told that so that you keep working in this crappy job and keep making them money. Another interesting thing throughout the movie is how much, again, much like Parasite, it's how much it plays on actual physical levels of being hired.
Yeah.
Like, Cassius Green and his girlfriend live in a busted-up garage of their uncle. His uncle's his landlord, though. And his uncle quite literally lives above him because technically he's at a higher status. The power callers are quite literally located above them through a golden door because the other people are inferior. Telemarketers are garbage. They just live in the basement.
Yeah, so this, I guess where they're working downstairs, it's like office cubicle type thing, spaced together. And then throughout the movie when you see the power callers they have an open space, iPads working off of them, a briefcase with a little earpiece to call the people. It is extremely different, and these people are only above, like literally physically above them.
Another interesting thing that I think about this movie is just how much it's just like every single trying to take notes for this like through the lens of Marxism.
Yeah.
I was just writing for 2.5 hours.
Same for me while I was taking notes and watching the movie, because I was easily able to find spot on who is representative of the id, ego, and superego. So superego is your morals and what you know is right, and I would say that's definitely Detroit, Cash's girlfriend. And then ego, I'm gonna say would be Cash. It's the neutral between ego, superego, I mean, and id. And then id is definitely Steve Lift, the CEO of Regalview, the company that they're all working for. So Regalview, the company, as I've mentioned, has the above of power collars, the golden elevator that takes you up there, and then if you take a turn, the staircase down to the telemarketing normal collars.
Yeah, I definitely see that because like Cash is being pulled by both sides. He wants to do what he wants to do because Steve Lift represents like just pure hedonism. It's like money, power, no worries whatsoever, women, whatever you want.
Yeah.
But then his girlfriend Detroit, the whole movie, she's like the entire movie is very like radical. She does art
and what
to try
she
to
believes
yeah,
in.
exactly. Like she does art to try to support Africa.
Yeah.
She's just like very radical, very for the greater good, will sacrifice herself for the greater good. And that, I think you're spot on. That like perfectly kind of encapsulates what the superego versus the it is.
His girlfriend contrasts with Cash because everything he wants to do and be, she is, and I think that he shies away from it. I feel like not until the end of the movie does he have the strength within himself to be like she is, because his girlfriend Detroit advocates against a life that is shaped by exploitation, and she advocates for people to have a say in their own life. She is the type of person who believes that when you have love and beauty and laughter, they can all thrive and flourish under any circumstances. Meanwhile, Cash feels like the only way he can truly live and have a meaningful life is by a materialistic status. And however he meets that from what he sees for himself in his mind, you know, having a car and a nice place and all of that. And eventually he does get to that, only to come to the end of the movie for it to not even have meaning at what it costs.
Yeah.
You can have that, but at what cost? At least the way he went about getting these things.
Yeah, well, that's how that's kind of another thing where it's poking holes in capitalism, is you can't be that wildly successful millionaire, playboy, whatever, without stepping on people.
Yeah.
And which he quite literally steps on people, because as they unionize, he was promoted due to his white person voice, which he had to adopt, which is another thing, is just how the erasure of his blackness.
Let's get into that.
Yeah.
Let's get into that.
It was crazy. The amount of smiling racism throughout the movie, which again is crazy, ridiculous. Because one of the most important things about capitalism is inequality. You literally cannot have full-on equality because not everyone's you need equity, but not everyone's given the same playing field. So how would everybody be able to get to the same place?
Point at
exactly.
All. Yeah. So basically, in his first telemarketing job, when he is at the bottom of the food chain, I guess we could call it, a majority of his workplace is minorities. And that changes once he gets above, when he does get this promotion. Completely different.
Yeah.
So while he's sitting, I think maybe it's like the first day, failing through all of his calls.
Yeah.
Stick to the script. He had some terrible run-ins with the old lady. So the old lady, and then his coworker beside him is like, bro, you gotta use your white voice if you want to make sales. And this is coming from another black man as well, so you can already tell, like, it's just disappointing.
Like he knows what's up.
Nonetheless, it's disappointing, yeah. And this guy is old too, so for him to be telling a young blood, as he said, to find his white voice and to speak as if he doesn't have a care in the world, to speak as if all of his bills are paid, as if he doesn't really need this money, as if he's getting into a Ferrari after work, to sound what white people think they sound like, is basically what he gets told to speak like.
Quick side note, the guy who voices how they do it, which is also just so unsettling.
Yeah.
And I think that's on purpose to kind of play into how unsettling everything is. He's voiced over by the uncle from Alvin and the Chipmunks, is what I found out.
Yeah.
Which is just disgusting.
The voice is eerie. I'll tell you that much.
It's very eerie, but the whole concept is eerie. Like, throughout the entire movie, not only does he have to sell out his humanity, he has to sell out his blackness. Yeah. Like, he's no longer a black man. He's a commodity to them.
Yeah, he's not seen as a black man in the workplace.
No. And then, towards the end of the movie, he gets invited to this party at Steve Lift's, and, he is fully just a commodity. Like, the amount of smiling racism is insane. It's not even smiling racism.
Yeah, it's blatant.
Yeah.
At that point, it's blatant, yeah.
The only times that they really appreciate him as the group is when he's, like, telling them it's okay that they can say the N-word. And is, like, trying to play into the stereotypes.
When he goes to this party, and all of these white people are like, rap, 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 rap. You must be joking me.
Yeah.
You must be joking me. Yeah. It's ridiculous. Because even the black men to each other are telling each other to speak in the white voice. If that doesn't scream systematic racism, I don't know what does.
And that kind of plays into it, too.
Systemic.
Because he literally cannot be successful without erasing his blackness, which is another part of his personal identity, which separates him from just being part of the group mind, of just, I'm a worker, I'm gonna work until I die to make this man more money than I'm ever gonna make.
Yeah. Part of the strike for Squeeze, saying we can't be giving people our days and being the source of profit just to get not even enough to survive or pay rent or buy food or have, recreational spending money, all of that.
Yeah, which that whole theme is also a huge theme throughout Marxism, is taking back the means of production, not working under, like, one main boss that takes all of the money that you make without giving any back. You don't get benefits, you don't get health care, you don't get living wage.
Yeah.
Especially jobs that work off of commission, they get nothing. If they don't make a sale, but they're still giving their time. They're still working.
They still have hours, but not, like, compatible wages for their hours.
Yeah, like, just because they're not actively making sales, they're still giving their time and money effort to this company. But the people at the top are the ones who get paid more because that's just how it is, and we need to suck it up.
Another thing I think is really part of the id is when the initial telemarketing job gets a new manager, Diana Debauchery. She says it's pronounced Debauchery. It's spelled exactly debauchery.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing throughout the movie as well, is the amount of just, like, puns that it does. Like, there's stupid puns and you would roll your eyes, but it's intentional. Like, everything in the movie is very intentional.
Yeah. So I did not like this manager, and I really want to make a point to this, is how she calls her, workers. Like, I'm not even sure if they're, like, they don't get treated like employees, so it makes them more workers. They're for other people, but she calls them a team. And this is what gets to me, because all of these people who are, in managing positions or even higher above, they always refer to them as a team, knowing exactly well that they are not a team because their team members are people working for them for her to get richer.
Yeah. Like, it's not a team,
but
it's the same thing as the Power Callers initiative. Like, I'm gonna make more sales one day. Maybe I can be a power caller and go sell slave labor and U.S. arms to other countries. But the whole team idea is just as much supposed to play into that, where it's like, we're a team. We work together. I work for you. You work for me. No. I sit here for 8 hours a day. I get paid barely minimum wage. I get no benefits, and you get to go home in your Bentley to your big old house. that I paid for.
Yeah, it really bothers me when people are calling their workers team members because you're not a team. Okay, so just drop it.
Yeah.
It is getting ridiculous. Yeah. Even thinking that it's America, so their minimum wage probably isn't even $15.
Yeah, no, it's not. Oakland, again, this is a separate universe, so this might be different. Oakland does have a living wage tax. But even then, Oakland, even, like, it's just, the movie is so genius. Like, even the use, like choosing Oakland has one of the highest unhoused populations in America.
Yeah.
Like, the whole Bay Area.
Yeah.
It also has some of, like, the highest amount of empty housing in America.
Yeah.
There are more empty houses and apartments in Oakland than there are homeless people. But it's because just the entire, like, market is so incredibly inflated. It costs $7,000 to live in an apartment. Like a dinky little apartment.
It's ridiculous.
What are you supposed to do? Most people can't afford that on the minimum wage jobs, and what else do they want them to work as? Who's gonna be a barista?
Yeah.
Who's gonna be a janitor? Like, if you can't pay those people a living wage, how can you justify paying someone else, like, thousands a month? That's the genius of the movie, is that's just something that we live with.
Yeah.
That's just something that we're all okay with.
Yeah. So there's a quote towards the end of the movie. Here, let me find my quote. Alright, so Squeeze is the one who initiates the workers' union. He says that if people get shown a problem with no idea how to control the problem, the people just decide to get used to the problem. And I think that is...
That's exactly what we do.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we do.
And I think it's an ego point of view thing to say because it's neutral between the fact that I feel like people are conditioned to feel like in order to reach success, then you do have to be ruthless and step on people and exploit people and like cheat the game, but like indirectly cheating it so that no one actually thinks that you're a bad person.
Yeah.
And then you have another part of you, the superego, that's like, that has morals. Like straight up, that has morals.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it almost feels like the meeting ground between that is to just not acknowledge the problem to the extent where you're actually doing something to change it.
Well, he perfectly summed it up. That's exactly what we do, like, as society.
Yeah.
And again, it makes you look at it and be like, this is ridiculous. Why would no one do this?
Yeah.
Because the main thing where it comes up is whenever it gets released, because Cash decides to release that Steve Lift is making these Equisapiens to try to make cheap, like, more efficient labor.
The half horse, half humans.
Yeah. He finds out about that. He goes to the press to try to tell them, and nobody does anything about it. So you're telling me that if you heard that Jeff Bezos made half horse, half people to work in his factories, what would you do about it? What would we do about it? We'd just be like, that sucks.
It just feels like it should be illegal. Like, part of me is like, why? The law should worry about that. And I should know that the law is going to worry about that and prevent anyone making half horse, half human beings to be workers, exploit them, pay them less because you know that they're on the brink of being a person. Like,
but a couple people doing that isn't going to drown out the masses of people that just don't care.
Yeah.
Because it's too big of a problem for them to fix. Like, this really hits every single problem on the head. It knocks
everything. On top of that, Cash has already been exploited before because, basically, Cash gets promoted. He is a sellout from his initial workers' union of the people literally only downstairs from him in the building that they're working at. So there's a, what's it called, picket line?
Yes.
That they're trying to block you to pass so that you don't enter the building, right?
Yeah, but
it's
also like a metaphorical picket line.
Yeah.
It's like crossing the picket line means that you're no longer with the workers, you're for the business.
Yeah. So Cash gets promoted, he walks through this line, and he gets a can of Coke thrown at his head. This gets captured on video and turns viral. So now this lady who threw the can and says some like phrase gets viral on YouTube. Now she's getting sponsored by the Coke. And Cash gets himself memed for having a can of Coke thrown at his head for crossing the line and entering his work, while there's a crowd of people behind him fighting and protesting for better wages and everything, literally human decency. So,
not only that, he gets literal merchandise made of his afro with a can in it that people wear.
He turns into a Halloween costume, okay? Like, literally, the fact that anything can be monetized too.
But that's exactly what
normal,
happens.
though. That's been normal, though. That's not even something gonna faze me anymore.
But that's genius, because that's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
Like, throughout the entire movie, too,
People
only pay attention whenever something like that happens.
Yeah.
Nobody actually watched the protest. Throughout the movie, it has
It's
people turning on the
interesting
TV.
happens, yeah.
Exactly. It's people turning on the TV, seeing the protest being broadcasted, and seeing the protesters be brutally beat by the police. They're like peace officers, though, too.
Yeah.
Like, videos of them being, like, brutally beaten by the police, like, 7 separate times throughout the movie, they switch off. Mm-hmm. Go watch, I got the shit smacked out of me.
Yeah.
Like, go watch how to make...
MTV,
how to make an afro can wig. Like...
It's ridiculous. Okay.
But that's exactly what we do.
Yeah,
it's genius.
It is.
Like...
So, Cash is now getting a taste of him being exploited and this girl profiting off of it, getting sponsored and whatnot. Cash, coincidentally enough, is at the mansion party of Steve Lift's. He needs to go to the washroom really badly. He goes, finds the wrong door, and finds the, Equisapiens, half horse, half humans, locked up and chained. Cash is intoxicated and loses his phone. So he doesn't realize, but he lost it in where the horses were. So the next day, his girlfriend, who at the time, him and his girlfriend in Detroit were broken up. They ended up getting back together, but yeah, they're broken up. She comes over, she's like, "Why'd you send me this video at 3 a.m? And he's like, "What? I lost my phone. Yeah. I don't know where my phone is." So they watch the video together, and it's a video of the horses crying out for help. And so Cash realizes that now he has this, like, saved on his phone of Steve Lift, like, abusing them, basically. So little Mr. Cash decides to literally do the same thing and post this video.
He does exactly what everybody else does.
The only way he feels that he can actually get this video to be shown is by going onto this game show. He makes an agreement that if he's on the show, they have to show the video of the horses crying out for help and Steve being like, "Behave, you Equisapiens."
But he shows it to everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Because what are you going to do? What are we going to do? It also really shows in how much psychology plays into economics and plays into capitalism, because we've been so conditioned that our superego will start to turn into, oh, I need to step on top of other people to be successful. So yeah, if you're ever bored and have an hour and a half to spare.
No, it's an hour and 50 minutes.
Hour and 50. See?
Yeah.
Hour and 15 minutes.
50.
Hour and 50.
Hour and 50 minutes.
Okay, well, hour and 50 minutes,
can do it,
go do the thing.
It's on Netflix. Enjoy. Thanks for tuning into this week's pod.
Yeah.
Hope you guys liked it.
We'll see you next week, where we will discuss sports.
No. Peace.